And you're David Scanlon. You're a Deputy Secretary of State in New Hampshire, and you are agreeing to be recorded for broadcast.
Yes.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Now, do you agree? And I've already spoken with a number of people at the Attorney General's office, and they agree that the basic operating presumption is that if I am physically in New Hampshire, then the Constitution and laws of the state of New Hampshire apply to me.
That makes sense to me.
Right. My question is, do you have, would you be aware of, or would you have any actual proof, facts, evidence that would prove that just because I was physically in New Hampshire, then the Constitution and laws of New Hampshire would apply to me?
Well, again, as I mentioned earlier, I'm not a lawyer, so I know that we have laws and we have the Constitution taking precedent that apply to people that are in New Hampshire. Are there circumstances where it may not apply to somebody that's physically here? I don't know the answer to that.
So you're not able to.
But generally speaking, I would say yes.
Yes, but would you have any actual facts to back that up and support that presumption or support that argument?
No, I don't have any facts.
No, I don't have any facts. Okay. See, one of the things that I was calling about, too, is a possible claim against the state because of what the NHES is doing, that the NHES, even though we've had hearings, have not been able to produce, and their lawyers were there, too, were not able to produce, like yourself, they weren't able to produce any evidence whatsoever that just because someone is physically in New Hampshire, then the Constitution laws apply to them.
Right. I mean, that's a very general question. And I'm not familiar with that hearing process, so it's really hard for me to comment on it.
Well, I think that the issue that I'm getting to is that even though it's the general presumption that if I'm physically in New Hampshire, then the Constitution laws apply, and you and no one else has been able, that I've spoken to, whether it's the AG's office, the governor's office, anyone at the NHES, no one is able to, and even before he passed away, it was someone on the executive council. His name escapes me right now.
Ray Burton. Yeah, Ray Burton.
Mr. Burton. Mr. Burton also was not able to provide any evidence whatsoever that just because somebody's physically in New Hampshire that the Constitution laws apply. And my concern is that there are people who are sitting in jail, they're sitting in prison, and they're having their homes taken from them under that presumption, but nobody's able to present any evidence it's actually true.
Yeah, I mean, again, we have the Constitution and we have laws, and they apply to the geographical boundaries of New Hampshire, just like the laws and the Constitution of the state of Massachusetts applies to their geographical boundaries.
Well, that's the presumption, that's the opinion, that's the argument that's presented. And I've also asked prosecutors like Rick Brown, for example, up in Carroll County. He admitted he had no evidence. He just thought it was ridiculous to even ask for such evidence. It's still, and I'll let you go in a moment, and I appreciate your time, it still begs the question, what facts are there to show that the Constitution applies to me or someone else just because we're physically in New Hampshire?
Yeah, again, I don't have a good answer to that question. You may have to look to the courts to see how they have, come down on similar questions.
It's funny you say that because they tend to fly off into a psychopathic rage when you do question them in that way. You get threatened with contempt, which is one of the reasons why it's better to call you or to call someone at the AG's office on the phone. Since I'm in Phoenix, Arizona, it's a bit safer. I can ask you the question and you could just honestly say, no, I don't have any facts. When we bring it up in court, the judges tend to, again, fly into a psychotic rage and start screaming at me or whoever it is, and I've done it in New Hampshire also, thank goodness, on the phone, and it doesn't usually end too well. You're threatened with contempt and going to jail just for asking for evidence that the prosecution is supposed to have anyway. So I appreciate your time, sir. I know I just called you right out of the blue, and I again thank you very much for allowing me to record for the broadcast, and have a good day.
You too. Yep.
All right.
Thanks.
All
Bye.
right. Bye.